Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Filmbuds and also welcome to the very first monthly special. Today we're going to be covering the films of Steven Soderbergh, which includes Out of Sight, Traffic, The Informant, Contagion, and Magic Mike. And so thank you so much for downloading. We really do appreciate it. It helps out the show, and it's also just another chance for us to talk about movies, so it's a nice thing to do. But first and foremost, my name is Henry.
This is Braden.
And today is just us two. Chloe, unfortunately, could not make it. She's got school and other things going on, but hopefully she'll be back on the regular show sometime soon. But yeah, so just us two today, but that's plenty enough. So
They're lacking commitment to the cause.
Yeah, just terrible. Well, Braden, how you doing, man? You hanging in there?
I'm hanging in there. Bit of sleep deprivation. I was up late catching up with my Soderbergh films.
Mm-hmm.
Things have been hectic lately, but I wanted to make sure it was all under the belt, and I absolutely had to rewatch Traffic because, like No Country for Old Men, once you start it, it's so good.
You got to finish it.
You can't stop watching it. So that cost me a little sleep, much as No Country for Old Men did. Mm-hmm. That's okay. Good film.
Damn it.
Worth watching.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, so the show itself, the structure is going to be relatively simple. It's just going to be, we're not going to have any news or listener questions or anything. It's just going to be strictly reviews for the most part. And we may change it up depending on how this one comes out for future ones. But right now it's just going to be covering the 5 films and talking about them. So it's going to be a good show. But I guess first of all, we can talk about our, not relationship with Soderbergh, but our kind of how we got into his films, if at all. And Brandon, so what was the first one that you saw?
Honestly, and I didn't even realize this at the time, there was a film that he did back early mid-90s called Kafka. Mm-hmm. And that was actually the very first film of his which I saw, and I didn't even realize it until I was going back through his filmography, because I saw that at such an early time, and I wasn't familiar with Soderbergh until a few years later. Mm-hmm. And so I didn't make the connection in terms of him as a director and paying attention to specifically to directors. But it's a little known film. Jeremy Irons is in it. He's always good. Mm-hmm. And it's sort of an interesting story about a fellow, I think his name's actually Franz Kafka, but it's not the Franz Kafka who's the author. It's another character who lives a parallel life. Mm-hmm. A fictional character who lives a parallel life. His name is Franz Kafka. He works at an insurance agency. He's a failed writer, and he somehow gets wound up in all of these strange, sort of surreal episodes that touch on a lot of the themes or imagery or so forth that appear in actual Franz Kafka novels. And it sort of used a device which I think is a bit, staid, old, something by now, but it starts off in, I think, black and white when he's living his humdrum life. When it goes and cuts into the sort of surreal episodes, it switches to color for this middle portion of the film and then flips back to black and white towards the end. And I thought, at that time, being young, not having seen a lot of films that do anything like that, that was interesting. I thought that was kind of cool at the time. And so that was actually the first film of his I saw, and I quite like it. Critics were kind of lukewarm on it, particularly after, I think, the commercial success of Sex, Lies, and Videotape.
Yeah.
But that was the first film of his I saw and actually really, really liked, but I didn't connect him at the time. And so I would have to say the first film of his that I saw and really drew me in was probably Traffic, which we played here at the theater, and I saw that night. That's when I went, Soderbergh, he's amazing. And then, obviously, I'm a huge fan of the Ocean's 11 series, and then Out of Sight, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But the first film of his I saw was actually Kafka. The first film of his I saw where I went, Soderbergh, was Traffic. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's the last year or two I've been getting into more Soderbergh, and the more I watch of his films, the more I like him. And he's done a lot of movies, and I think that while we're only covering 5 today, I hope we chose a good mix of the films, because he's done a lot of different genres, and he's a very versatile filmmaker. But for me, I think the first ones that I can remember are probably the Ocean's films, which Ocean's 11 is still one of my favorites, but we'll get to The Informant in a little bit, but that's the one that's my favorite, and then as well as some others that we'll be talking about. So I'm very now a huge fan of Soderbergh, and I really, really like him. And yeah, he's very underrated. You know, you never really hear much acclaim for him. I mean, you hear him getting like, oh, from director Steven Soderbergh, but you never really.
Well, that's the thing is I think a lot of his films are, I wouldn't say maligned, but underestimated or undervalued.
Yeah.
Because on the surface, if you look at it like, and we'll talk about this with Magic Mike, but if you look at it on the surface, or probably Girlfriend Experience, which I need to see. Damn you, Henry, where's that DVD?
Sorry, I should have brought it.
But he deals with people who sort of on the fringe, like Logan Lucky, people sort of on the fringe of society who don't necessarily fit in, and so part of it might be that, part of it might be the subject matter. You know, Logan Lucky takes place around a racetrack. Girlfriend Experience deals with people in the escort service. Magic Mike deals with male strippers, right?
Yeah.
And so these sort of strange, weird, on the fringe, salacious things probably draw people to the box office, but that's just the surface, and there's a lot more sort of human condition elements to the stories that he tells. And so I think people just see the surface and think, oh, it's a Soderbergh film, it'll be fun, it'll be funny, Logan Lucky, oh, it'll be funny, and blah, 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 blah.
But there's a lot more to it, and in terms of even in terms of his direction, it's
exactly
great.
Well, I mean, the craftsmanship of his films is spectacular. It's
Yeah.
always spectacular. But people just sort of look at the subject matter, and either that's what draws them in or turns them off, and they lose sight of the stronger story elements that are beneath it. And it's kind of interesting because I think I mentioned this before. The Coen brothers don't make multi-dimensional characters. A lot of their characters, they seem very archetypal. And I think the characters in Soderbergh films are very multifaceted, very deep, very nuanced.
Yeah.
And so the Coen brothers films where you get people with these strong personalities bouncing off one another, whereas Soderbergh films, you get people with these very nuanced, complex personalities and how they interact. And I think, you know, Magic Mike in particular, Out of Sight also to an extent, shows how these people who would seemingly be at odds somehow are drawn to each other.
Right.
So anyhow.
I mean, I think we were talking, or I was talking about Tony Scott on the last weekly show episode, but he's almost in a way kind of like Tony Scott, where he's maybe hasn't done a lot of like amazing films. He has a couple under his belt, I think, but he doesn't seem to get a lot of credit for more than maybe putting the subject matter on screen. Like Magic Mike is, like what you're just saying, is seemingly like a girls' night out film, but it's really not. I mean, there's stripping and there's, you know, kind of guys flashing their abs, but it's a pretty dramatic story at times. It's much more character driven than you would think.
Yeah.
You know?
Once I sort of grabbed hold of my, perhaps that's not a good way to phrase that, but once I sort of wrestled my macho whatever tendencies, I'm not going to watch a movie about male strippers. Once I wrestled that sort of under control, so I guess came to terms with my masculinity, whatever the enlightened way of thinking about it is. But you know, once I got past all of that and just watched the film, I mean, it's actually, you know, a pretty compelling story about somebody who's just life just constantly beats him down.
Yeah.
And he just picks himself up and just keeps going and finally makes some good decisions. So, excuse me, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot more complexity to his stories, and people just see the surface. Oh, escorts. Oh, male strippers. Oh, NASCAR racing. You know. Casinos, right? The Ocean series. There is a little bit of depth to his films. There's not the same amount of depth to all of his films. Like, obviously, Logan Lucky.
relatively surface level, but there's still a lot to like, and there's a lot to get invested
Yeah,
in. You know.
there is a little bit about class and stereotyping and this kind of thing and that kind of thing. Um, but Ocean series, I honestly can't see any kind of depth really to the Ocean series, which is fine. They're still a lot of fun to
Yeah.
watch, and they're well crafted films.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but then you get something like Traffic, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, which is remarkable in terms of both the film itself, how it's made, and the subject matter, and I think how it treats that subject matter, which is interesting. And there were a few issues, but I'll discuss those when we actually get to Traffic. But yeah, I think people just sort of see the surface, and not all of his films are deep and meaningful. But I mean, what auteur, what director makes all films that are just all meaningful and deep all the time?
Yeah, I mean,
There might be a few, but
like even someone like Spielberg, he's he'll do Saving Private Ryan and the Schindler's List, but then he'll go and do the BFG,
right,
and so it's
Ready Player One.
and both, I mean, all those films in their own way are interesting, even if one it has more depth than the other.
Yeah. So I was just thinking Woody Allen, right?
Yeah, that's
And
another
he's done a lot of really spectacular films. Hannah and Her Sisters. He's done more recently Blue Jasmine, Match Point, right, which are weightier films. Maybe not necessarily have point, but they're very dramatic and they're very deep, and they really delve into the human condition. And then you get a lot of like goofier films. I mean, thinking of his earlier stuff like, well, honestly, even his sort of goofy earlier stuff, I think Sleeper, Bananas, things like that had sort of veiled message. Bananas talking about all the sort of, what is it, banana Republican dictators and so forth.
something like that.
Latin America. What do they call it? Banana Republic, banana. Anyhow, and Sleeper comments on society and futurism and so forth. But I'm just thinking some of his more recent films, Midnight in Paris, right? Which was fun, but I don't really see.
Yeah, it's more of a experiential
Yeah, exactly, right.
film for the most part. Yeah,
And Magic in the Moonlight, whatever that was, Colin Firth and the Stone.
Okay, yeah.
It was, yeah, well, it was charming. It wasn't
charming.
really spectacular. It was charming, but there was no point to it, right?
And then there was Irrational Man, which like no one saw.
Yeah, nobody
And-
went to see
And
that.
Joaquin Phoenix, which I mean wasn't bad. It was interesting.
Yeah.
It's creepy,
Yeah,
but it's charming at times, and so it's just another kind of lesser film, but still has its moments.
right. So no great director, no great auteur is going to be spot on all the time. Have nothing but deep, meaningful films. Maybe there's some directors out there who intentionally do that. I'm only ever going to make deep, meaningful social commentary films. But notice how a lot of those directors are not well known. Perhaps they have a great deal of respect among those circles familiar with their works, but not well known at all. And I mean, I could see that getting a little overbearing at times. And so somebody like Soderbergh, who's able to wrap these themes perhaps a little covertly in interesting or different subject matter, makes for a more interesting, more watchable experience. And
Yeah, I mean he really affirms the idea of one for me, one for them, where it's like, here, I'll make, I don't know, one of his bigger films, like I'll make Ocean's 11, but then I want to go make The Girlfriend Experience,
Right.
Or I want to I'll make Magic Mike for you, and I'll make, I don't know, Che with Benicio del Toro,
right.
or something like that. And so
forgot
and so it's interesting how he works, and very prolific.
Yeah,
In a good way, so.
yeah, prolific in a good way. I mean, I honestly don't think I've seen anything that was just utter garbage by him. I mean, even his worst films are, in the grand ranking of schemes, are still middle of the pack to higher upper middle of the pack kind of things.
Yeah.
Which is saying a lot, because I mean the volume of films out there now. I mean, this past weekend when the grosses and national grosses are so poor, I looked at all the films out there, and there were a few good ones. Wind River, Good Time, Logan Lucky, but I mean, Hitman's Bodyguard and that Annabelle film, and it's
God.
it's just a lot of garbage out there.
Yeah.
There's so much garbage film made, and Soderbergh's films, even his not his best efforts, are still considerably better.
Oh, by far, yeah.
So I'd much rather go watch a mediocre Soderbergh film than watch a really spectacular, I don't know, say, Michael Bay film.
Exactly. Yeah, any day of the week for the most part.
Yeah.
So, all right, well, let's go ahead and get into the films. The first one is Out of Sight, obviously directed by Steven Soderbergh, and it came out in 1998 and stars George Clooney, Jennifer Lopez, Don Cheadle, Ving Rhames, and Steve Zahn. And the plot synopsis is: a career bank robber breaks out of jail and shares a moment of mutual attraction with the U.S. Marshal he has kidnapped. And so just a little background. So the film made $77 million against a $48 million budget, and it has pretty strong critical praise. It's at 93% on Rotten Tomatoes. So just kind of another typical range for Soderbergh. Decent box office, but pretty strong critical success. So
Yeah.
But so I had only, the first time I watched this was just a couple of months ago, or maybe a month and a half ago, and I really liked it. And I think it's another underrated film. It's like, why is not more people talking about this? It's so charming and so fun, and
Well, rewatching it again, I mean, the first word that comes to mind after watching this is sexy, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, particularly the scene between Jennifer Lopez and George Clooney in the bar.
Oh yeah,
when they're in Detroit. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just.
And then there's literally a steamy sex scene, in the bathroom.
In the bathroom, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, the relationship between the two of them aside, I mean, the story is told really well. It's really compelling, and again, you got this multifaceted character, George Clooney, who is. I mean, he's a career bank robber. That's all he's done with his life. That's all he knows. That's all he can do. And he's, exceedingly good at it. Mm-hmm. But it turns out he's, got a strong moral code. And you see this at the end of the film when he goes back to help a woman who's, in imminent danger of sexual assault. And, he's trying to help out his friends. Mm-hmm. And he has he answers to sort of a higher order.
Yeah.
Even though he's a bank robber.
Mm-hmm. Which is kind of like Logan Lucky or something, where they're criminals, yes, but they're not like unforgivably terrible people.
Well, some of them are.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Snoopy, Don Cheadle's character, is unforgivably terrible.
Or in terms of the leads, like Clooney is almost like a Channing Tatum.
Yeah.
Or the George Clooney character in Ocean's 11. They're charming enough where they can kind of win you over.
Yeah. So. Well, that's the thing that I like about Soderbergh is he always seems to hone in on leading men who have this sort of easy charm, this simple charm.
Yeah.
And you want to hate them, but because they're so damn charming and not condescending or arrogant about it, you love them. I mean, George Clooney and Channing Tatum both, I think, are just them as actual people are so personable and charismatic.
Right.
And then the way that they bring that charisma onto the screen, you want to hate them. They're so good. It's freaking good looking, right? But you can't. You have a hard time despising them, But Out of Sight, I mean, the first word that comes to mind after I watch it is sexy, again, because of the chemistry, particularly between Clooney and Lopez.
Which is phenomenal.
Phenomenal.
It's not just good, it's so good. Like the scene when they're in the trunk of the car. Mm-hmm. That's amazing. And then the dinner scene, which you mentioned. Yeah. It's just, they're made for each other, really.
They really are. I mean, it's really just amazing. I wish the two of them had done more together. Which, J-Lo, I'm thinking of all the films that she did back in the 90s, all those rom-coms and stuff, like, what was it, that terrible one where she's a maid in a hotel.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. I can't remember the name of it.
She did another one with Matthew McConaughey, didn't she?
I think so.
I can't remember all those because I didn't see any of them.
Yeah.
So, but after performance in something like Out of Sight, obviously she can act.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and I don't know. I guess it was working with Soderbergh, working with Clooney, that brought out some of that skill, perhaps. And
Right.
so maybe if she'd had better roles in certain pictures, you would have seen more of her. But in this, she's spot on. She's so good.
Mm-hmm.
And we were talking about who was it? Patty Jenkins talking about Wonder Woman and how that was. Again, I think this is very sort of, in a sense, I wish Chloe were here to give her 2 cents, but I think it's a very feminist kind of thing because you have this woman who's she is attractive, but she's smart. She's tough as nails. I'm thinking of the scene where she goes to find Snoopy and runs into his cousin Kenneth, and Kenneth obviously makes some very aggressive advances on her, and she just puts the beat down on him.
Yeah.
And doesn't break stride. She looks, great in her boots and her dress, and she just whips out her nightstick and just beats the living tar out of him.
Yeah, and she's not like overly tough. Like she couldn't just take on anyone ever, but she's tough enough, she's smart enough where it's not overbearing, but it's still a strong female character, and it's very well balanced.
Yeah. So I think I really like that character a lot. And Clooney, obviously, again,
He's great.
Multifaceted, multi-level character, and he portrays it so well. And I mean, everything that he does for Soderbergh and everything that he did for the Coen brothers.
Oh yeah,
has been spectacular. And I mean, it's such a fun film to watch, and I've seen it probably 5 or 6 times at this point, and each time I see it, I enjoy it. It's not kind of, oh, it's Out of Sight again. Oh, here we go with George Clooney and Jennifer Lopez. Oh, no, I mean, the performances are so good, and the tight scenes, the dramatic scenes are done so well, and I mean, it's just fun to watch. It's spectacular.
It's almost like what you're just saying. You wanted to hate Magic Mike, but it's so charming. They're like, God damn it, I like this movie.
Exactly.
So. I think that kind of the issue I had with the movie, I think the first half in particular is, I think, the best part. It's so charming, and then the second half gets a little too heavy into the plot, and then there's the disconnect of George Clooney and Jennifer Lopez, and they're not on screen together all that much, and so I feel like it does kind of drag a little bit in the second half for me, but other than that, I have no real complaints. Like, Don Cheadle's great, and that's another thing with Soderbergh. His supporting performances can be just as good as the leads, like in Logan Lucky and the Oceans series, and in this, like Ving Rhames, Steve Zahn, and Cheadle are all great.
Yeah,
in their own way.
They really are. It's spectacular. I mean, even Dennis Farina, who's barely in it, is Jennifer Lopez's father. He's fun to. I mean, he has just like a very easy. He comes across as being a father.
Yeah.
Which is, obviously what he is, but his how he interacts with Jennifer Lopez, I mean, he seems like a father. They seem to have a sort of a pre-existing relationship, and you can buy into the fact that they have, he has raised her, she has been his daughter for his whole life, that kind of thing. So it's Ving Rhames. I've always loved Ving Rhames. Always loved him. Yeah. I was upset when he dropped out of the Mission Impossible series, and I'm glad he's back now. But I've always really enjoyed watching Ving Rhames. And he's so good. He's so good in this, his buddy. Who again, an interesting multi-dimensional character. I mean, here's a guy who's a bank robber, but he always goes and has these lengthy conversations with his sister, right? And so obviously, he's, instead of being just this horrible, amoral thug, he loves his family. He's very loyal to George Clooney's character, and who's it? Jack Foley, right?
Yeah.
And so it's really interesting to watch the two of them together because George Clooney and Ving Rhames in this, again, their characters have such a deep bond.
Yeah, and then the chemistry between them is great. Not just between Clooney and Lopez. The chemistry all around is very good.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of veering off, but I do love the opening scene with the it's so clever that the heist or the near heist I should
The
say,
near heist, yeah.
where he walks into the bank and gives this whole story about, oh, my friend is over there, is has like a gun pointed at this person, so if you don't give me the money now, they're going to shoot him. But it's all a complete lie, and he's just so confident and charming that he gets away with it like that at first, And then there's also one thing that Soderbergh does, and I know I keep on bringing up like Logan Lucky and Ocean's 11, but the very short little bits of flashbacks that he puts into his films, like his films will usually be quite linear, but then he'll put in just very quick little flashbacks of how one heist was pulled off because of this one little trick or one move by a character, 3 days ago, is how this has now affected the end. And it's very interesting how he just puts in these tiny little bits of exposition, but it's done in such a charming way that you are completely okay with it. You're like, oh, so that's how all these characters got away with this ridiculous heist. Even if it's overblown, it's still very funny and cool to watch.
Well, that's what makes his films. I mean, particularly his heist films, so much fun. Is he shows you all these seemingly pointless minutiae, these little tiny details in the heist that turns out have a huge impact on how things play out. I mean, even with Out of Sight, which is not necessarily a heist film, he has a little attention, not nearly as much as say in Logan Lucky or not Out of Sight, pardon. Logan Lucky or the Ocean series, which are heist films, and that's their intent. But just little important things that he goes up and talks, talks to the bank teller and gives all these details, and he says non-sequential bills, non-marked bills, no die packs, no nothing, And then he says, I'm going to give a signal, and then, whereas other directors might have George Clooney just take money and just immediately walk straight out of the bank, you see him stop by the guy, exchange a few meaningless words with him so that it looks to the teller as though he's giving the signal to his accomplice.
Yeah.
And then he walks out of the bank. And then this car doesn't start, he immediately gets caught.
Yeah.
So that's funny. But, I was just looking at the cast, too, and it totally passed on me. Catherine Keener's in it. I love her, particularly after being John Malkovich. I wish she had more sort of juicy roles. She was in Captain Phillips very, very briefly. And, but she's great in this as Adele, the ex-wife, the magician's assistant. And I didn't even realize this at the time, and it sort of always stuck with me, but the fellow that plays Dick the Ripper, the fellow whose house they go to rob, it's Albert Brooks.
Yeah.
I don't know why I never put two and two together,
Yeah.
but there he is. So he was also spectacular in this.
I love all of the scenes at the prison.
Yeah.
Like anything, it's always so funny, and they get into these ridiculous situations and arguments, and it's so well written. And
the scene in the library.
Yeah, that's the one I'm thinking of. That's the best, I think, of them.
Yeah, that's hilarious, where they're getting into a fight, and then the guard comes in, and Snoopy and Jack just open the book. So I was telling you about this over here. The guard's like, what's going on, dude? Oh, we're just looking at the book.
Yeah, and there's like this unconscious guy on the floor, like right nearby, and it's a fun movie, and I hope that more people watch it, because it definitely deserves more credit than it seems to be given right now.
Well, the interesting thing is, and we were talking about him sort of hiding little nuggets of issues, pertinent social issues or whatever in his films. I was watching this and sort of thinking about it again within that context, a bit about, using film as a vehicle for commentary and so forth, social commentary, economic, political, whatever commentary. I was watching this again, and particularly the prison stuff. Obviously the main theme is this relationship between George Clooney and Jennifer Lopez's characters. And again, I think the important thing is, you say there's a bit of a disconnect, and to me, I think that could be intentional between the first two, because there's not a lot of screen time in the middle of the film between the two of them, and I think that might be the point, is because the attraction, this sort of magnetic attraction between the two of them is so strong, even if they're separated by all this time and all this stuff, they somehow are compelled to move back towards one another.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, it makes sense for the story and the plot, but in terms of entertainment value,
Right. You want to see more of them.
They're so great together in that first half, and so together frequently that I miss them not being together in the second half.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I mean it's not completely logical, but it's a relatively believable film.
But the issue I was speaking of is sort of, and it's easy to miss because again, you're looking at the heist but what happens with Steve Zahn's character and the whole issue of recidivism, and the more frequently you're put into prison, the more likely you're going to become a hardened career criminal.
Mm-hmm.
And how Steve Zahn, I mean, when you first meet his character, Studs, he's Glenn something, they call him Studs. He's a doofus. He's a hapless dimwit. He doesn't know what's going on. I mean, he's mostly just a harmless guy. He probably got put away for drug charges. He's just a stoner. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's his affectation. He's got his sunglasses on all the time, probably to hide the fact that he's got super bloodshot eyes, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's just a simple dimwit. He boosts a few cars. He smokes a lot of weed. Probably dealt a little weed, something like that. So is he a criminal? Yes. Is he a hardened criminal? Is he in there for murder and rape and, armed robbery and, I mean, the really, really bad... No. I mean, he just seems
he's a dummy.
Yeah.
Not much else.
But then he gets caught up with Snoopy, and all of a sudden, he's out killing people, right? And, I mean, that's a very, very gut-wrenching scene, is when this poor guy gets pulled along with these really, really hardened thugs. And I mean, that's when he breaks. And he later into the film, he ends up fleeing from them because he's so afraid of these guys. And so again, there's little veiled social commentary there about sort of how prisons are run and this kind of thing. And sentencing and so forth, and putting these guys who have, repeatedly, they might be repeat offenders, but, I got caught with a few ounces of marijuana. Oh, I got caught again with a few ounces. And then they're put into prison with these guys who are, again...
who are going to really persuade them to do terrible things.
Right.
Whether it be through manipulation or just simple peer pressure.
Right.
And especially since... they're probably not going to be that intelligent. They'll more than likely go along with it. So.
Right, exactly. So, I mean, that's sort of hidden in the film and obviously is sort of secondary or tertiary importance to the relationship between Jennifer Lopez and George Clooney, but it's still there. It's just, again, it's hidden under the main story. But again, Soderbergh, I think, it's easy to miss those little things in his films.
Yeah.
Which in Logan Lucky, I think there's some commentary on class, and it's easy to miss that because you get so caught up in the heist. But Out of Sight is it's just a spectacular film. It's so much fun to watch.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think that's about all I got for that one. Braden, anything else?
No.
About that one?
No.
All right. What are you gonna give it out of 5?
4.5, I would say.
I'll go 4.5.
Yeah.
All right. Well, then let's move on to Traffic, which was released in 2000, and it stars Benicio del Toro, Michael Douglas, Catherine Zeta-Jones, Topher Grace, and a couple of Don Cheadle as well.
Erica Christensen, Luis Guzman, who I always love.
Mm-hmm.
God, I mean, the cast in this is one of those films, in a sense, it's like Contagion or Crash, right? It's got all these multiple storylines going on, focusing on this one theme. In Traffic, obviously, it's the drug trade, and in Crash, it's sort of the LA freeway highway system, something like that.
I mean, I guess it's mostly just the police force or state trooper or something like that.
And then in Contagion, it's obviously this epidemic, pandemic, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And so you wind up with these massive ensemble casts.
Yeah.
It's so,
And
God, look at who all's in friggin' Traffic. It's amazing.
and so we'll here. I'll just in case you haven't seen it, I'll give you a quick synopsis. So, a conservative judge is appointed by the president to spearhead America's escalating war against drugs, only to discover that his teenage daughter is a crack addict. Two DEA agents protect an informant. A jailed drug baron's wife attempts to carry on the family's business. So yeah, what you're just saying, there's a lot of stuff going on in this film, and just to give you a little quick background, it made 207 million against a 48 million dollar budget, so definitely a more successful one for Soderbergh financially, at least compared to Out of Sight, and it also is at a 92% on Rotten Tomatoes, so another strong critical win for Soderbergh. But in terms of it being an ensemble film, is I really love that with most of his films, and with especially with Contagion, which we'll get to. But with this, I actually kind of had an issue with it because I found a lot of the characters to not be as interesting as others like it. And I really like Benicio del Toro, and I mean all the performances are quite good, but I found it to be very disconnected from one another, and it just felt like it was trying to tackle too many perspectives, and I really would have preferred a streamlined take on it. And I mean, I still definitely enjoy the film, but this was a first time watch for me too, I should say, and so maybe on a rewatch it would be less cumbersome to watch. But I do feel like the editing at times can just be a little too disconnected and all over the place for me. But I mean, for the most part, I was still very entertained, and I think it brought up some interesting ideas. I just was a little slightly underwhelmed. But
I have to say, hands down, this is probably still my favorite Soderbergh film. The only, and it's a very minor issue that I have with it, is at times perhaps the editing is not not in terms of moving between the stories, but at points it feels like the editing, it could have been tightened up just a touch.
yeah,
There are perhaps a few too many lingering shots, a few too many pauses, and that kind of thing. But that's such a minor thing, and I don't know that it really detracts from the overall experience of the film. But I mean, it's so jarring. Just watching the film and watching how convoluted this whole thing is, and you have these wealthy, respected people here in the United States who are wound up, in terms of the importing all these drugs, smuggling all these drugs into the United States, and all the lengths that they go to. I mean, it's crazy. They were talking about Catherine Zeta-Jones's character, whose husband gets picked up on this stuff. She's sort of threatened, and then ends up sort of taking over her husband's role in order to keep the money flowing, so to relieve the pressure on her family. And the scene with her, and it turns out it was Benjamin Bratt. I didn't realize it at the time, but the scene between her and Benjamin Bratt, who's one of these sort of Mexican drug cartel kingpins, she's talking about all of the chemical analysis that they've done in order to turn cocaine and use it in these pressure molded plastic looking toys to smuggle over the border. And then you've got Edward Ruiz, right? I forget the character actor's name who plays him, but the one who gets shot in the foot at the very beginning of the film.
yeah,
And later, when he's talking with the FBI and the DEA agents, he's discussing how they had done sophisticated regression analysis. I mean, these are statistical methods that they're using in order to determine when and where would be the best places to. It's amazing. And then, there's the other scene with Kirk Douglas, right? The son, the younger one, too?
Michael Douglas.
Okay. Kirk Douglas was in Spartacus. Michael Douglas was, okay.
Michael.
But you've got Michael Douglas's character, who's the drug czar, the newly appointed drug czar, and he goes and is talking to some of the people in the border states about the intelligence that they use in order to or some of the assets that they use in order to gain intelligence on drug kingpins and their movements in Mexico. And he says, well, their intelligence network is, one of these guys informs him, their intelligence network is far greater than ours. And
sorry for the telephone call if you hear that. Sorry about that.
Sorry about that. But Michael Douglas asks, Kirk Douglas. Michael Douglas.
Michael.
Asks why is that? And he says, well, we may have more money overall, but they don't have constraints in terms of congressional oversight or legal constraints and things like that. And so it's interesting to hear that and just how sophisticated, I guess, these operations that these kingpins are running. Because you think what you see in the papers is, beheadings and mass shootings and this kind of thing, which are just grotesque in every way an affront to human dignity. But the way that they're able to amass so much money and keep these things going is not just, the fear, the brutality of it is part of it, but that masks, I think, a lot of the sophistication of these things. And it's interesting that Soderbergh actually gets at that. You can't just treat these as a bunch of thugs with guns and drugs.
Yeah.
It's much deeper, much more sophisticated than that. And
I think one thing, we've already kind of touched on it, but his films are, whether they're just a regular like heist film or they're something like Traffic, they're very detailed. And I think we'll get to The Informant and Contagion, but I think both of those have much more detail and complexity than you would necessarily expect with a film like that.
Right.
And even if it may not have crazy effects on certain characters or the overall plot, it's still very interesting to hear these characters talk like they actually are these real people. Like a scientist talking about this epidemic and actually using jargon, if you will, and sounding believable. And even something like Side Effects, which came out a couple years ago, just a seemingly regular crime thriller, but it has a lot of commentary on the pharmaceutical system, and I think that's a lot of it is Scott Z. Burns, who wrote The Informant, Contagion, and Side Effects. He's clearly very passionate about that type of subject matter and doing that for his films. And so I think, and with Traffic, even though he didn't write this, it's still, again, another very detailed film, and I really appreciate it for that.
Yeah, I mean, the stuff that he gets into with The Informant in particular, it's like, all this crap about corn. Oh my God!
Yeah.
You don't even realize it.
Yeah.
But I think I'm sorry. I think I was kind of digressing there. But yeah, Traffic. The storytelling, it's these multiple parallel stories that all seem to focus on one overarching subject, and I'll perhaps get into this more when we talk about Contagion a bit. But for some reason, it works in Traffic, and I think that's because even though these stories, particularly Benicio del Toro's story, with everything that happens around him. And then he's a police agent, and then he gets picked up by Salazar, and then it turns out Salazar is sort of in the pocket of one of the kingpins that is kind of working on his behalf.
Yeah.
And then it's this whole story of shifting loyalties and who's he involved with, and then the American agents, DEA agents, sort of pick up Benicio del Toro and are able to use him as a, and he his story is really complex. Particularly compared to some of the others, like the Michael Douglas storyline, pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
And even there's a lot of political sort of double dealing and backstabbing, that kind of thing. But it mostly focuses on his relationship with his daughter, who is a cocaine addict.
Yeah.
And
I think for better or worse, you're thrown into this world.
Yeah.
And you're gonna see every aspect of it, whether you like it or not. And you're probably going to learn a lot more about it than you want to know, but it's good to know.
Well, it's something people should know, or at least
exactly.
It's
You may not want to know it, but it's good to know
Yeah,
it.
it's parts of. I mean, it's obviously not the whole thing, but it is I think some very important parts to understanding the drug issue, the drugga. I don't know what you would call it, epidemic.
Drug war epidemic,
I
something
don't.
like
I'm
that.
not a big fan of the drug war thing.
Uh,
Talking about it in terms of a war.
Yeah.
I mean, it's people I think are finally starting to sort of change and view it as a health problem rather than some sort of paramilitary operation.
yeah.
So,
One thing in terms of Soderbergh's style that I kind of had an issue with in this is so his films. If you watch even more than one, you're going to realize his films are either going to be yellow or blue or both.
yeah,
And so so there's a lot of yellow in this film because there's a lot of like desert and rural settings, but the blue is I think way too much, and
Really?
it feels so saturated. Like the scene, the courtroom, relatively early. There's a courtroom scene, and it's so just vividly blue and it just felt it was very distracting for me. And so I feel like the yellow works, and usually I don't have an issue with that. I usually like it, like in Contagion or really any of his films, but I feel like with this, for some reason, maybe it was the quality of the cameras or something, but there's just the blue it's too blue for me.
really.
Yeah.
Because I thought it was really effective in some of the scenes, like particularly the scene Erica Christensen, Michael Douglas's daughter, falls back into her hard drug habit, and then when she goes to the dealer and sort of the dalliance that they have, trading her exchange of sexual acts for drugs, and how the blue filter is used there, and I thought it was really effective. I mean, part of how that sticks so much in your mind, not only is it sort of the depredations of drug use, but the way that's portrayed, it's so blue, it's so despairing.
Yeah.
It's so, it really strikes home how awful the whole situation is, and how awful this reliance, this dependence on drugs becomes. So I think in some ways, yeah, the blue filter can really, it does, for me at least. I can see it being overbearing in some scenes, like the courtroom scenes where you're talking about, but I think in other scenes, particularly the ones Erica Christensen's character, and she's hanging out with all of her pretentious, doofy, drug-using prep school friends.
Yeah.
And
One thing I do want to mention, I just do not like Topher Grace. He's just not good in anything.
yeah, I watched this and I tried to like him, but I mean it was hard, and I tried to feel bad for him in Spider-Man, the third one, Tobey Maguire, yeah, and then even
Please
the Predator,
kill Peter Parker.
the Predator film with Adrian Brody, which I like that film. I hated his character. I mean, you're supposed to hate his character, yeah, but
and I rewatched Ocean's 11 about a month ago, and he actually has this really small part
in that. He has a very
in that.
small cameo in that.
I'm just like, oh.
He shows up in that with the guy, that dude who plays Casey on Dawson's Creek, right? Mm-hmm. I forget the actor's name.
Yeah, but he's really do not like him. So.
Yeah. Nope.
And this is a film that Catherine Zeta-Jones, I mean, there's not a performance that she's given where I'm like, oh, that is incredible. But I mean, she's fine in this. She doesn't do a whole lot for the most part, but I think she's good, at least better than I think she has been in some of her other films.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean, the performances all around, I think, are really strong, except for a few people who are, like
ones.
Topher Grace, obviously.
Topher.
And Catherine Zeta-Jones, she wasn't bad, but it was a little flat, maybe.
Yeah, and I think at times a little over the top.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But I don't know. I thought the storytelling was really good, even though it seems a little disjointed. It lets the story, I think, and that's probably why it clocks in at a hefty Michael Bay 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
But it lets the story unwind at its own pace,
which I appreciate. So it's not as though there's a constant blitz of information. You're able to, when the story shifts, it gives you a little time to sort of move with the story, to allow your brain to transition into the new storyline, rather than immediately throwing you into this sort of jarring situation. You have to reorient yourself immediately.
Yeah.
Which I think was kind of the issue with Contagion.
See, I'm the opposite. I loved how Contagion was structured, whereas this I felt it was way too much. And so what we'll talk about that when we get to it. But yeah,
I felt the complete opposite.
yeah, exactly. So it's for me the film is, I definitely enjoyed it, and I'd say it's a pretty solid Soderbergh film, but it's a little disjointed, a little long, and I don't know if I was ever bored, but just I was waiting for things to happen, and so I wasn't as into it as you are. But I would like to rewatch it. I think it's on Criterion, and so I think I'd like to pick it up and pick it up and rewatch it.
It's I like it. I appreciate the fact that it just lets things unwind how they are. And I mean, it's that's, I think part of it is it's not, so many films focus in on the DEA agents, the FBI agents, and they're going in for the sting, and they're mowing down all the bad guys, and they got their kick-ass automatic weapons, and they're blowing down doors and kicking ass and taking names. And, this, it really gets at the whole process. You see from almost street level, you don't really see necessarily, you see a little bit of that with Erica Christensen's character when she's going out to score drugs, but you see it, to a sort of the middle management, which was the Catherine Zeta-Jones thing, to the kingpins, and then to the top echelons of the political process, as in Michael Douglas's character, and everything that they go through in order to try to stem this drug epidemic that we're dealing with.
Yeah.
Or we're dealing with. I don't know what drug statistics are right now. Certain types of drugs I know are on the decline, but then others, like prescription meds, for instance, and I think opioid use.
Those are going up?
Are going up, yeah. So, but I appreciate the fact, the way that I think, and it would have been difficult if he had done just a single linear storyline. He wouldn't have been able to touch on everything from street level dealers to the top kingpins, and in parallel, the street level agents, such as here portrayed by Don Cheadle and Luis Guzman. I always love him, and it was good to see him in a lot of Soderbergh films, and I wish he'd done more, but he was so good in this, and he had a tiny part in Out of Sight, which I liked him in that as well. But I've always liked Luis Guzman, but he and Don Cheadle, the relationship, the chemistry between the two of them is pretty good.
Yeah, again, it's another great chemistry between a pair,
But you see them, street level agents, all the way up to the drug czar, Michael Douglas's character. And so again, you've got these two parallel tracks, the law and the criminal agency, and all the way from the bottom to the top. And it would have been different. And the only thing that sort of gets washed out is the people who seem to suffer the most, which is interesting. I kind of see the point, but kind of, I don't know. Anyhow, I mean, particularly with crack cocaine, it was more prevalent in black neighborhoods, and its use was stronger among the black demographic. And so it's kind of strange that the person most heavily hit by drug use in this is a well-to-do white girl. But then again, I guess the point is the fact that it can affect anybody, because this is the daughter of the drug czar. This is the guy who's in charge of trying to stop the flow of drugs and trying to staunch this problem, this drug epidemic we have, and what's happening right under his nose. His daughter is falling more and more, going more and more down the rabbit hole with these hard drugs. And so part of me wishes that they Soderbergh had done something a little more in terms of those communities hardest hit by this stuff.
Delving into that a little bit more.
But at the same time, I can see his choice to use Erica Christensen as The Addict, because it has the chance, although you don't see it a lot, but it does have the chance to move across these demographic lines. And that's the interesting thing now is I think obviously people with prescription med addictions are, I think, more well-to-do white folks because they can afford it. And
Exactly,
the
yeah.
people with the opioid addictions are mostly, I mean, you look at where those places most hard hit, and it's like West Virginia, which again, it's mostly white demographic. So I don't know. I mean, it's a difficult problem. It's a sticky problem, and overall, which I guess is what I'm getting at. And again, that's what Soderbergh was able to portray in Traffic. And in terms of the technicality of the film, I think his direction, as always, spot on.
It's great, yeah. And
So-
one thing, and no, I don't think you've seen it, but it definitely feels a lot like, in terms of the filmmaking style, is Che,
Yeah, no, I haven't seen.
which is about the Cuban
Che
revolutionary.
Guevara,
Yeah,
yeah.
and it's
Marxist, socialist, revolutionary.
yeah, it's one of my favorite of his films, I think, and it's again, it shows like every aspect of this revolution, from Che fighting the government and to him speaking out at the UN. And so I think I had seen that before this, but I definitely like that style in the film like that as opposed to this. I don't know why per se, but he again really shows his versatility with being able to do it like a handheld, gritty film like Traffic or Che, and then go do a relatively glossy film like Magic Mike or Logan Lucky.
Yeah, the Ocean's films.
Yeah.
Out of Sight. I mean, he's so good at making those glossy films, though.
Yeah.
They're so awesome to watch.
Yeah, and you wouldn't think that that's the same guy who did Traffic.
Who did Traffic,
or
right?
Che, yeah.
Yeah,
Or even The
exactly.
Girlfriend Experience, which is another just very handheld, strange, experimental film. So it's very interesting.
Well, that's the thing that I've noticed about Soderbergh's films is, and we'll talk about this probably a bit more as we get into some of his other films, but he really likes taking chances on non-traditional actors,
Yeah.
which is really strange because you see in Magic Mike, Gabriel Iglesias, right?
Oh yeah, that's
Right?
Yeah.
And then A Girlfriend Experience, obviously Sasha Grey.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember some of these other ones that he's sort of...
Trying to think.
I know there are other examples, but they're not coming to mind immediately, and I don't know why. Anyhow, but he likes to sort of take chances on putting actors into his films who are not necessarily sort of big name.
Yeah, they're not just like, oh, here, let's be edgy and put in this non-actor. It's like, who would best serve the story?
Yes,
And Sasha
exactly.
Grey, like adult film star, is the lead character or is the lead actor in The Girlfriend Experience,
yeah.
and it's all about an escort.
Right.
So it makes sense. And sure, you could put a traditional actor in there, but it may not be as real, especially since that film is very experimental, like I was just saying, and very documentary style. So.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, it's interesting to see him take chances with these people who are not traditionally sort of straight up actors. This is what I act. This is all I do. Right. But again, Sasha Grey, Gabriel Iglesias, a few other people. I'm trying to remember what else. I know there were a couple other examples that I had, but they're just not popping into my mind for some reason.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, his films, he takes chances with them, and sometimes it pays off, sometimes it doesn't. Girlfriend Experience, I think it was fairly well received critically, but I think it was
so.
a box office flop.
Oh yeah, it didn't make like any money, and also the budget was very low, so it wasn't really
Yeah.
It was another like one for them, one for me.
Yeah,
So.
exactly. This is a film that he wanted to make, and because he's got enough clout, he was able to do that. So.
Yeah.
And he actually, I forgot it, he has won several Oscars.
Yeah.
Traffic, in fact, I was just looking at that, netted 4. I don't know if he got Best Director or anything like that, but it's still a film that got quite a bit of critical acclaim and obviously won won some Oscars. So I mean, this is a guy who has some Hollywood leverage, and he's able to make those films. So sort of, I don't want to call them vanity projects because it's not just sort of frivolous, but he's able to make projects for himself.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, Traffic again. I thought the use of the filters in Traffic was really good, particularly the desert scenes. It was very telling, but in those scenes where the blue filter really did come through, I think it did such a remarkable job of accentuating the hopelessness, the despair, the depredation. And again, that's not in all the scenes, but in those scenes where it does hit you, it really hits you.
Yeah.
So it's I quite like Traffic. I think overall it's just a remarkable piece of filmmaking.
Yeah.
So
All right. Well, it's a solid 4 for me.
I give it 5.
Go 5.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, and I definitely, my guess is I'll probably rewatch it at some point and probably come to love it. So, I can tell there's a lot going on, so maybe it's just the first time watch is a lot to take in. So.
There is. I mean, rewatching it myself, even having seen it a couple times before, I wouldn't say it got lost, but it is difficult to keep track of everything, particularly Benicio del Toro's storyline and everything that's going on there, and then his partner Manolo and everything that went on with Manolo, and it's complicated, but then again, the subject matter is itself very complicated.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Well, let's. We're gonna do a bit of a jump in time here. We're gonna skip the Ocean's films just because I feel like we could maybe do an Ocean's show at some point, something like that. But so we're gonna move on to The Informant, which came out in 2009 and stars Matt Damon, Tony Hale, Melanie Linsky, and maybe a couple others as well. But and the IMDb plot synopsis is the U.S. government decides to go after an agro-business giant with a price-fixing accusation based on the evidence submitted by their star witness, Vice President turned informant Mark Whitaker. And this is a true story. I don't know about everything in the movie, how truthful it is, but it's based off a true story, I should say. And it made $41 million against the $22 million budget, and it has pretty good critical praise. It's at a 79% on Rotten Tomatoes. But this is my favorite Soderbergh. I wasn't crazy about it the first time I saw it. It's a bit like Inherent Vice in that way, but I've watched it so many times since then, and every single time I watch it, it gets funnier and funnier. I think Matt Damon is incredible in it, and I love the writing. I love the ridiculous voiceovers where he's like just saying random thoughts like used girl panties in Japan. You know, it's just, and you know,
How is that okay?
Yeah, it's like, that is not okay. And I think my hands are my best feature. And and all these things, I think for the most part, people are going to think about a lot of the time to themselves.
Yeah.
But you just never really say it, especially since it's probably weird stuff. And so I love the movie, and it's one of my favorite Matt Damon performances, and yeah, it's great for me.
Huh. I mean, I hadn't seen this before, and I did enjoy the film. Again, even I'll just say, even watching even what I consider a sort of Soderbergh's more mediocre works, they're still outstanding. Would be top-notch work by anybody else.
Right.
But this one, I mean, it was clever. It was fun. I really enjoyed watching it. That being said, it wasn't my favorite. The whole inner monologue thing. There was some really funny little commentaries there, but it's like a nonstop rapid fire, zip 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 zip. Even when there's a break in what's going on, there's a pause in dialogue between, say Matt Damon and Tom Papa, his boss at ADM, the big corn conglomerate, whatever it is that they do. And as soon as the dialogue between the two of them stops, that inner monologue, bam, kicks in.
Right.
And, I'm Matt Damon, here are my hands. Look at my hands. Here are the hands.
It's just like the Michael Crichton novel. It's
just like the Michael Crichton novel. Right. And so, I don't know. I've always treasured silence in my personal life, and in perhaps in films a bit too much. I mean, that's why I'm not a big fan of voiceover dialogue.
I'm usually not either. So
Yeah, and I think it was used to some effect in this, but I mean it's so rapid fire. But then again, that might be a conceit by Soderbergh, because again there are questions as to the mental health of the Matt Damon character later in the film. So this could be indicative of these mental health problems that he's struggling with.
yeah,
Because I mean he's a pathological liar, but is that simply, that's one thing I couldn't quite figure out in watching this. Is he a pathological liar because of some sort of mental health problem he has, or is he pathological liars because it's a rational choice on his part?
I mean, I think it's maybe a little bit of both, but I think they make a point of really not saying which, just to kind of leave it more up in the air.
Mm-hmm.
But it is one thing on rewatching it is you realize how often he is lying, because when you first watch it, especially if you don't know necessarily what the movie is about, you just like, oh, this guy's kind of goofy. I don't get why he's saying all these things, but then you realize he's lying about like every single thing that he's doing.
Yeah.
And when you rewatch it, all those things become so much more clear, and you put certain plot points together, and it's hilarious that you realize how big of a lie this guy is creating for himself.
It's massive.
Yeah.
Everything he does. He just, I mean, and that's part of what turned me. Well, I guess that's the whole point of it. It's intended to turn you off, because this guy is so sketchy, and he comes forward and wants to be an informant to the FBI, and in terms of this price fixing, this whole sort of cartel thing that all these corn guys are doing internationally. And you think, oh, he's a stand-up guy and he's doing this for the, well, while he's doing all this, he's still taking like millions of dollars in kickbacks.
Yeah.
Right? He's getting more money in kickbacks than he is from his actual salary, which I guess is the whole point to kickbacks anyways.
Yeah.
But, and he's stealing company property. He's handing out like company cars, giving them to family members and stuff, I guess. And just all kinds of just horrible, ridiculous, bad behavior. Just shit that,
I love just like the one-off lines. I mean, the best part of the movie for me is Matt Damon, but lines like where he says, "The phone company just called me and said both of my lines are tapped." It's like the phone company wouldn't call you.
Why would the phone company call you and
like,
tell you that your line is tapped?
Yeah, it's like, why did Regina say that then? And,
Yeah.
Or like, it's just so witty, and the writing, again, written by Scott Z. Burns, who did Contagion, Magic Mike, and it's just, I love it.
I mean, a lot of the dialogue, and I mean, particularly a lot of his inner monologue, I think is very clever. And part of the fun to it is trying to figure out what snippets, if any, of his inner monologue bits actually are pertinent to, or sort of allegories for what he's going through in terms of the story.
Right. And if he is lying or if he's not, if he's actually being genuine. So.
I'll just tell you this. 99% of what he says for the first 2/3 of the it's just bullshit. It's utter
complete
bullshit.
Yeah.
And he's
my step parents owned amusement parks.
Yeah.
Did very well for themselves.
Well, that's the weird thing about it is he talks about this at the beginning of the film, and the way he introduces himself is he says, my parents died in a car crash when I was young. I was orphaned. I was adopted by a man who was relatively wealthy because he owned amusement parks. You go, oh, okay. He presents this as fact.
Yeah, and you're like, oh, that's a little strange, but I can take it. And then you see his real parents are still alive.
Yeah,
It's just.
Much later in the film, it turns out when investigative journalists are looking at this whole thing as a story, and they start uncovering a bunch of his actual parents are still alive and living in Ravenna, Ohio. Mm-hmm. What? And because of the way that he introduces himself, I'm Corky, blah, blah, blah. My parents died in a car crash. Yeah. I was adopted by a wealthy guy that owns amusement parks. And you go, okay, fine. If that's what happened to you, if you say that's what happened to you, then why should I second guess?
Yeah.
And then it turns out later in the film, and as the investigations go on, they uncover more and more shit. It starts off, oh, you got kickbacks, right? Yeah, well, I got some company cars, and I got maybe 1.2, 1.5 million in kickbacks.
It's like, I don't know. You tell me how much it was.
Yeah,
You know,
and then it later it's like 4 point something, 5 point something, and then it balloons up to like 7 or 8 point something million he got in kickbacks.
Yeah.
While he was working with the FBI.
Yeah.
So he's working with the FBI, and he's getting all these kickbacks, and he thinks he's not only going to be okay at the company still, but is going to take over sort of the executive, some sort of executive position running the company, which he already is, fairly high level executive there. But he thinks he's going to take over the whole company somehow. Like this whole investigation is going to sweep everybody away, and then he's going to come out of this whole thing scot-free because he was an informant.
Yeah. And I love, in terms of his lying escalating, I love it when he is talking about his parents dying in a crash. And he's like, yeah, they did own amusement parks, or the step-parents did. And now I adopted 2 kids of my own. And then even at the very last scene where he's pleading, trying to get a presidential pardon.
Right.
He's still like, and now I have kids of my own, 2 of whom are adopted. He's still lying.
He's still lying.
And it's just amazing. And it's terrible that he's still lying, but it's hilarious to watch.
Yeah, so. Because, this guy, he doesn't know when to stop heaping on the shit. Mm-hmm. Like, it's a nonstop. It's just, I don't know, and he seems to buy into it. He thinks it's such a normal part of his life that he doesn't, there's no switch on bullshit, off bullshit. It's just, he's going, and then the bullshit comes in, and the bullshit goes out, and the bullshit comes in, and the bullshit goes out, and there's nothing to stop the lies.
Yeah.
And it's as though he can't distinguish or separate the lies from what is reality for him. And so it's such a common thing. And that's again, that sort of points to, is this mental illness, or is this something that he was doing rationally because he understood? And he even says at one point, when I was applying to colleges, I said I was orphaned because I read a piece, an article in Forbes or something that talked about how people who are adopted typically will have a better reception, more sympathy from people. And obviously, that was a rational choice on his part in order to gain some advantage. But,
it's still wrong.
It's still wrong, right? And so I guess there's the mental health issue of distinguishing between, right and wrong, not lying, distinguishing between reality and fabrication. And so, again, they talk about, like, he's not bipolar by any means, but he says, at one point he talks about, well, I don't know if my parents were bipolar or something like that. But and I guess that's kind of the question, which I think even at the end remains unanswered, is this quirky guy actually, does he have some sort of undiagnosed problem, or is he just really that much of a weasel?
Yeah. I love it when he's like, Mark Whitaker, Agent 0014.
Why? Because I'm twice as smart as 007.
It's like, no, it's the opposite.
It's the absolute opposite. Yeah. Some of those things where he's first working with the FBI, were just hilariously funny. Like the bit where he's recording the conversation with the Japanese conglomerate, and he opens up his briefcase and he's fiddling with the secret recorder. And then the other scene where they've got the cameras in the room, and he walks straight to the lamp, and he's staring into the camera.
Yeah. And I love it when he's in the bathroom, and he's recording a piece for the FBI, and he says the name of a French company, that the name is very much a French, very French sounding. And he's like, that's a French company. In case they weren't able to discern that. And so
he's walking through his lobby narrating, "Good morning, Liz Taylor, my secretary."
Oh, yes. Morning, Liz Taylor, secretary. And a lot of that is Matt Damon, but it's so, I just love it. And,
I really enjoyed his performance. And see, okay, this is what I was talking about, is these are some of the people in this film in particular are not traditional film actors. There seems to be sort of a bifurcation in actors between television and film actors. And Soderbergh doesn't care. Melanie Linsky, TV actress. Most people know her as Rose from 2.5 Men. Mm-hmm. and she's done a few other things, but nothing major, and certainly nothing on par with a Soderbergh film working with the likes of Matt Damon, right? And then who's the big FBI agent on the case? Scott Bakula, right? Where else do you see Scott Bakula?
Yeah, and then there's the guy from Community. Okay, I don't remember his name. Who's the partner of the FBI agent? He's a really good comedic actor.
Huh.
But yeah, I like him.
I'm not as familiar with. I didn't see Community.
Yeah.
Maybe I should go watch it. I don't know. But yeah, I was just thinking. Also, this is back before anybody knew who the hell Patton Oswalt was.
Yeah, he's great, and Tony Hale as well.
Yeah, right. So again, this is. I'm glad I could finally remember, but these are instances where you see Soderbergh taking actors who normally wouldn't be in sort of big budgety films, and putting them into his films. And again, Soderbergh is a really fairly well known and well respected director, and he's taking actors that normally, again, Patton Oswalt, comedian, much like Gabriel Iglesias, are sort of in the early stages of their career before they've really gotten big and started getting regular roles.
Yeah.
Of course, I do forget whether at that point in time Patton Oswalt had done the voiceover work for, what was that Disney film about the mouse cook?
Oh, Ratatouille.
Thank you. Of
Love
course,
that.
Ratatouille.
Love that movie.
Play on words, right? Yeah, it's a great film, but I forget whether Informant preceded or.
I think this did come after.
It came after?
Yeah, this was
Okay, so
2009. I think Ratatouille was mid 2000s.
So people did know who Patton Oswalt was.
I think so.
Okay.
But not. He wasn't huge.
Yeah.
And I don't think he's huge now. But
I don't think he's huge now, but he is more.
Well,
he is better known.
Yeah.
I think now.
More recognizable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was interesting to see him show up, even if it was a bit part. Bam! There's Patton Oswalt, with his file, and he's talking about corn price fixing and stuff. And so it's again Soderbergh taking people that normally you wouldn't see, like Melanie Linsky, television actress, Scott Bakula, television actress, who normally directors wouldn't put these people in their films, but there they are. So Soderbergh, kudos to him for that.
Yeah.
Because I think both of them actually, he got pretty good performances out of the both.
Oh
of them.
yeah, and Matt Damon gained maybe 25, 30 pounds for the movie. So
Yeah.
he has this belly that just kind of hangs
It
out.
was just worth seeing the film just to see Matt Damon as a dumpy middle-aged doofus.
Yeah, with this big mustache.
His mustache and his goofy
hairpiece,
feathered hair thing,
and
or whatever that
that's
was.
the funny thing. So he wears his hair, which is not very good. It's like Trump hair, pretty much. But you're like, that. I guess that could just be bad hair. But then, near the very end, you see him in a stressful situation, and he slightly messes with it, and you're like, oh, that's a hairpiece.
Oh.
If you hadn't realized that beforehand, you could just think, oh, that's bad hair. But then they make a subtle movement where you see it shifting.
He's actually balding.
Yeah, and then at the end you do see him without it, where he is bald.
Yeah, when he's getting out of prison. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a little short quip from Soderbergh. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a really fun watch, and it's quite underrated. I think it's just quite misunderstood for the most part, because it really requires you to know. I mean, it sounds stupid, but you need to know what's happening. You need to know that he's lying, and you need to know that it's so consistent that it's just more and more ridiculous. And maybe on the first watch, that's not always clear. And it wasn't to me first time I saw it, so it's worthy of multiple viewings, I think.
Probably. I mean, a lot of the stuff, again, particularly with regard to his little inner monologues, there's a lot there. I mean, they're all really clever, and I'm not partial to voiceovers, but I think these voiceovers, even though I find it a bit jarring, I think there's some interesting stuff said in them. And again, it might be an intentional decision on Soderbergh's part, again, to show sort of the inner
thinkings of a strange man.
Yeah, like how his mind, how sort of fractured or disjointed or whatever his mind is.
I like it when he says, I'm wearing this guy told me I'm wearing the same tie as you, but the pattern is reversed. Then he drops
dead.
You're like, oh, okay.
Turns out it was an aneurysm.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's just strange things like that I really appreciate.
Yeah. So.
Oh, and one thing I'll mention now, but it's pertinent to Contagion. So the scene where Matt Damon is standing next to the lead FBI agent in a hallway, and they're doing a tapped phone call. The FBI agent sneezes, and then there's a voiceover with Matt Damon saying, "Oh, now that the germs are going to be on his hand, and it's going to be with his wife at home when he sees her, and blah 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 blah." And then that's actually one of the inspirations for Scott Z. Burns for how he did Contagion, because he's like, oh yeah, because then it's going to be passed from person to person to person, and it can just be as simple as a person sneezing into their hand and then not washing afterwards. And so he said that was one of the inspirations for how he did Contagion. So
that's interesting.
Yeah.
So he's drawing sort of a nugget of inspiration, I guess,
from himself.
Yeah, from himself.
So
it must be good to be your own muse, I guess. But,
yeah.
I don't know. I mean, The Informant, it was fun to watch. It was just, I don't know, the whole voiceover thing. Even though a lot of it was clever and interesting and fun to listen to, it got a bit overbearing at times. There was no breathing room, I guess you could say, in the film. Which I guess that was sort of your issue with Traffic, is there was perhaps too much breathing room.
Yeah.
But this, I never felt as though there was any moment to catch my breath. That being said, I still thought the performances were great.
Yeah.
And I thought it was sort of an interesting. It's Soderbergh is one of the few people I know who can take a subject as seemingly innocuous and boring as price fixing within the corn and corn byproduct.
Yeah. And make a ridiculous comedy out of it.
And then turn it into a ridiculous comedy, which also, again, touches on the notion of white-collar crime.
Yeah, and have be very detailed.
Yeah.
At the same time, and still be interesting. So.
I mean, that's the thing, is he's talking about all the uses. I mean, it's not even this company that they operate. They don't even do corn. Mm-hmm. It's lysine. It's a product of corn. And they do stuff with lysine to try to figure out, how the various uses for it. And they were, doing something to feed it to shrimp for some reason?
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
He's talking about feeding corn to shrimp, and he talks to his son about it at one point. And then using it as a biodegradable element in garbage bags, and then all kinds of other stuff. And so you don't realize just how pervasive corn is. I mean, most people go, oh, ethanol. So much of gasoline is ethanol now. But yeah, I mean, that's part of it. But that's only a small part of it. Mm-hmm. And I mean, just the amount of, how detailed this is, and the amount of research that Burns must put into his scripts, and the experts that he must talk to.
Yeah. I
mean, these guys, he's got to have experts on retainer for everything.
He's kind of like Mark Bowl, who did Detroit, Zero Dark 30, and Hurt Locker. They both really pay attention to detail. So.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, different types of research that they're doing, but the extent to which they conduct this research is remarkable. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I mean, it's awesome listening to this, just again because of the detail put into the script.
Yeah.
But anyhow.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's a big 5 for me. It's one of my favorite films. So
I'd have to go 3.5 for it. Again, I felt a little short of breath at times. There was no breathing room, and you get a little lost, and as the film progresses, and things start uncovering, you get a little lost in terms of what all Matt Damon is lying about, what he's telling the truth about, and it turns out he's lying about pretty much everything. And I don't know, particularly in terms of the investigation, I think it sort of drags a touch. Mm-hmm. But that being said, I still, a lot of the dialogue I think is still snappy. Matt Damon's performance is spot on. So it's, I don't know, 3.5. Maybe on a rewatch it'll go a little higher, but
yeah. Oh, and I didn't mention it it made $41 million against a $22 million budget, so not really a big hit, but it had pretty good critical praise. It's at 79%. Wait, no, I didn't mention that.
Yeah.
I think. Oh, never mind. Sorry. I'll edit that out. Okay, well, so let's move on to Contagion, which was released 2 years later, and also stars Matt Damon and has Jude Law, Kate Winslet, Marion Cotillard, Lawrence Fishburne, Gwyneth Paltrow, Bryan Cranston. It's a huge cast.
Who doesn't it have?
It's a huge cast.
Who doesn't it have?
And the so the IMDb plot synopsis is: healthcare professionals, government officials, and everyday people find themselves in the midst of a worldwide epidemic as the CDC works to find a cure. And so this one made $135.5 million against a $60 million budget, pretty high for a film like this.
Yeah.
Then it's at 84% on Rotten Tomatoes currently. And so yeah, so I hadn't seen it for a couple of years, and I rewatched it last night, and I had forgotten how much I loved it. Like, I think this might be in my top 3.
Really?
I absolutely love Contagion. I love how detailed it is. I love the characters, and it's terrifying to watch because it feels very plausible. And there are all these real world scenarios where people are completely turning on each other, and it just feels like it could happen tomorrow, especially with everything going on in the world right now. And so all the performances are great. I think the characters are fantastic. The score is amazing. Cliff Martinez, who would do, he's worked with Nicholas Winding Refn, like Drive, Neon Demon, and he also worked with Soderbergh on the TV series The Nick. But yeah, the great score. But yeah, I love the movie. So
Contagion, I mean, it certainly was, in terms of sort of a thriller, it's a very taut thriller, and I appreciate the fact that, again, the script is so detailed. But I think to an extent, even more than The Informant, because you've got 4 or 5 multiple storylines. You've got the Marion Cotillard, you've got the Kate Winslet one, you've got the Lawrence Fishburne one, you've got the Matt Damon one, and sort of to an extent you've got the Gwyneth Paltrow one, which is sort of she served as the vector for this disease into the United States, North America. But all these different disparate storylines obviously revolving around this outbreak, this pandemic, epidemic. Again, I don't know what the appropriate terminology, nomenclature is, but it's so frenetic, and I guess that's why it made money, is because it keeps you engrossed. You're engrossed the whole time, but it's so frenetic, and there's so much jargon thrown at you. Mm-hmm. And again, it's obviously very well researched, but it just seems as it's like a nonstop blitz.
Yeah, it's a lot to take in.
And
for being a thriller.
Yeah.
So
exactly. So not only are you dealing with the constant jumping from one storyline to the next, but you're trying to follow. Oh, we looked at these and these gene markers here, and obviously there's bits of pig DNA and bat DNA, and somehow it's able to attach to the human genome at these points, H24 through G76 over here. You're kind of going, bah?
Yeah. The
whole time you're going, wait, let me get my, dummy's guide to genetics out.
Yeah.
And go through. And so, I think in terms of, this obviously feels as though it was made specifically to have more mass appeal. Mm-hmm. Let's throw some jargon in, and let's, constant barrage of action and stuff going on. And even though it's, not gunfights or anything like that, there's always somebody, like shots of somebody running down a hall somewhere.
Yeah.
Or somebody running down a hall, somebody putting on a hazmat suit. It's just it gets a little overwhelming at times. It's too frenetic, and it's too difficult to follow. And some of it at times it just seemed a little overbearing, a little too structured in terms of what it was trying to do, which is have that marketability, that mass appeal. Mm-hmm. And so I feel as though a little bit of the story gets lost in the gloss, the glitz, the glamour.
Yeah.
Whereas some of his films, the Ocean's films, Out of Sight, it accentuates it. Here, it just seems to drown out some of what's going on.
Yeah. I mean, maybe it's just because I've seen it many times now, but I do love the story, and I think in particular, I love Jude Law's character who plays this
Yeah, that's
famous blogger, quote unquote, who's always trying to find the truth. And I mean, sometimes he's wrong, but
no, he's a scumbag.
yeah, he's trying to make a name for himself, for better or worse. And but he's a very interesting character and plays both sides. And Jude Law plays him very well.
Yeah.
And I also, one thing I do like is it does have the chapter titles, even though they don't say chapter, but they're like day 2, day 7, day 126. Whereas usually with those types of titles, I'm like, okay, now we're only at day 5, but that's usually when there's an endpoint. Like, there's, let's say 100 days.
Yeah.
You're like, we're only at day 40. But with this, it feels very natural, and it's not like, oh man, I have another 20 minutes. It's just, oh man, this is escalating even more, and we're still going.
Yeah.
And so even though I had the same issue with, had the issue with Traffic, I do like how it is all over the place, but maybe that's just because I personally find all the characters to be really interesting. But I love how it does show you different parts of the world and how Tokyo is being affected, then how England is doing it, and then the scenarios of people having to get food and what people can start doing to each other the second that they don't feel safe. And
right.
So
all the looting and the threats of violence and all of it.
Which, like, again, with something like Charlottesville or something,
I'm just thinking about, we had, Texas was just nailed by Harvey over the weekend. And listening to NPR on the way here, there's a very popular clip on YouTube, Facebook, about a man in his community who's just trying to deter looters. He's walking around his community with a shotgun.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I haven't seen that.
But he's just trying to deter looters because it's been, I really should go find some way to contribute to the disaster relief after Harvey.
I think there's a lot of different ways. Like, I saw an ad on Facebook, and I think I'll definitely donate. But have you seen the news about people selling water where it's like they're selling it for $99?
Which I think is despicable.
Exactly, yeah. And so it's something like this where, people are starting to die, and not everyone's going to get a vaccine. And so how much are you going to start charging someone if they need help, or are you going to hurt them? And it feels very relevant, very very realistic. So
yeah, it's interesting. I mean, the whole drug thing at the end of it, and I thought it was interesting, and that's when the film sort of starts to drag a bit, is towards the end. But I think it's interesting how they approach this, because it's very much something you could actually see happening. Is the FDA fast tracks the antidote to this, the vaccine for this virus, and then in order to monitor the supply, because obviously the demand is going to far outstrip the supply, and if there was supply put on the market for this, it would only be available to people who have just like deep pockets. And so what they do is they have this lottery system where, what was it, every 70 something days, so roughly every 3 months or something, they would have a lottery draw a day of the year,
and then people who were born
people born on that day would be given allotment of the drug.
And
of course that begs questions like, bringing a black market, selling it with these drugs, then would there be a black market for these drugs, and how much would they go for on this black market? Right. So I mean, all sorts of ethical questions, which again, I like that Soderbergh touches on some of these hypothetical situations, discusses some of these sort of ethical questions that touch on his films. And so I appreciate that his films have considerably more depth than a lot of films, which would go for salacious, cheap thrills. But Soderbergh is able to bring in some interesting questions about ethics with regard to, like, Lawrence Fishburne's character, who gets in a boatload of trouble, and towards the end of the film, even though this is a man who's trying to do the right thing, and what he did was wrong, he was doing it for the right reasons. He wanted to vaccinate his wife.
Yeah.
And I thought it was really, that was one of the most touching scenes of the film, is he gets his wife the vaccine and then lies to her about having given somebody else, having taken it himself. And then he takes his portion because of what he did in order to get his wife a vaccination. He takes his portion because he's the director of the CDC, right? If I remember correctly.
I think so.
And he takes his portion and gives it to the son of a fellow that he works with, who is custodial staff.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really touching.
Oh, yeah.
And again, it shows the complexity of these characters. And so this guy who had done this sort of ethically gray area type thing and sort of procuring an extra vaccine to give to his wife, decides not to vaccinate himself, to forego his own vaccination, and provide that portion to the son of this fellow that works in the office with him, not in a director executive capacity, but as part of the maintenance staff.
Yeah.
So I thought that was one of the scenes of the film that stuck with me.
Yeah.
I think more than anything else. I mean, even more so, I think, than when Matt Damon and his young daughter, go to the grocery store, and it's filled with people just willy-nilly looting and grabbing whatever they can.
Yeah.
And then he ends up having to run out of there because, what is it? He sees somebody.
He's siphoning the gas.
Oh, right.
And trying to, and then there's also someone who's really sick, and he tries to get at them,
Yeah.
or who asks for help, and he is so worried about his daughter that
he flees from them.
Yeah. One thing in terms of just being a visceral image is the autopsy scene with Gwyneth Paltrow. There's so Gwyneth Paltrow, who's the wife of Matt Damon, she dies very early on in the film, and there's all of a sudden this cut, and you see her face as
she's a corpse,
as her brain is being sawed out.
Yeah.
And it's like you see the forehead being peeled back, and you're like, good God, like
you don't see them actually sawing her head open.
No, but you see the
poking around in the mush that I guess her brain had turned into. But,
and it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, her skin is fully peeled back. It's like, oh, it's the Gwyneth Paltrow autopsy. This is fun.
Like, thanks, Steven, for giving me nightmares.
Yeah, I mean, that was the funny thing about it, is Gwyneth Paltrow's, big time A-lister star, is in the movie for of 5 minutes.
Yeah.
She shows up.
And she's good.
She dies.
She's quite good in it.
And then you see a few shots of her on a business trip in, like, Hong Kong, and then you see her on the autopsy slab, and that's her role in the film. Is she goes from businesswoman to corpse.
Yeah,
and that's pretty much the arc of her story.
And I like, in terms of what we had brought up before about Soderbergh injecting little tidbits of exposition and flashbacks, is towards the end, Matt Damon is looking through her camera because she was on a trip. Now, did it start in Hong Kong? It was I think an Asian.
No, it didn't start in Hong Kong. She was in Chicago, and she had been on the phone with the fellow that she had been in a relationship with, that she was cheating on Matt Damon.
Right.
With this fellow.
But there's a scene where he's looking through photographs, and it's a guy that she's just kind of friends with at a bar, and she's taking a photo with. Then there's a person who she's like kind of touching hands with, and then you see her grasping hands with the chef.
Shaking hands with the chef,
and it's giving you little bits of information that's like teasing, like, oh, maybe that's how she got this. Right. Or maybe did she give this to someone else? And then at the end, you realize what happened. But it's very just subtle, but very effective. And it's very interesting.
Yeah.
So, I had forgotten how much I liked it, and everyone's great in it. Like Marion Cotillard and Matt Damon and Jude Law and
Lawrence Fishburne, I always love
yeah.
him. He's good. I wish he had more roles like this, but
Yeah.
I always really like watching Lawrence Fishburne.
Mm-hmm. And then Kate Winslet as well. She's quite good.
Even though she's in a relatively short period of time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so strange because the way that this story is told is very similar to Traffic. And in a sense, it's also, in a way, similar to, I guess you could say similar to Dunkirk. But the thing is, Dunkirk, at least all of those storylines are within a bounded geographic area, right? It all is on that beach, Dunkirk, right?
Yeah.
Belgian. And so, but whereas Traffic, it doesn't seem to bother me much. For some reason, Contagion, I guess just because of the frenetic pace, whereas, and it's sort of the opposite, I guess, for you. For me, Traffic, because each part of the story is allowed time to unfold, it allows you to adjust. Okay, now I'm with Benicio del Toro. Okay, now I'm back with Michael Douglas. Okay, now we're following the daughter. Okay, now here's Catherine Zeta-Jones. And whereas this, it's a nonstop, Marion Cotillard, Lawrence Fishburne, Marion Cotillard, Gwyneth Paltrow, Matt Damon. And it's just bam, 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 bam. And it keeps you engrossed. And I guess that's the whole point to it, is it's intended to draw you in. It's intended to, and so in a way, it's meant to pull in an audience. And it's produced, I think it's put together as a more, I hate to use the word commercial, but I think it was intended to be more of a money-making film than some of the other stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost how the Ocean's films are, like, draw you in as a heist.
Yeah.
As a fun heist, and then this draws you in as a
thriller.
Real-world thriller.
Yeah.
So.
But it's too nonstop, and then it's just the guys in the hazmat suits and with the centrifuge and the blood and the big cryo chambers and the thing, and then Lawrence Fishburne and somebody's looking at, and Elliot Gould's character, right? What was that all about? Mm-hmm. I guess the fact that he found some sort of genetic marker or something, he was able to reproduce. He was the first guy that was able to reproduce the virus in a laboratory setting or something.
I think
right?
so, yeah.
Even though he had this just tiny little dinky private lab that was in a lower ranking tier, something. But he was there, and then he just sort of dropped out. You don't see him again.
Yeah.
And it's all this very technical stuff, which obviously points to the detail, the research done, the level of research and detail put into these films. But for some reason here, because it's so nonstop, it's so frenetic, you don't have time to take in that information. Plus, the information here is of such a technical nature, it's hard to put it in context, and you're not really given a lot of time to analyze or think about it. Mm-hmm. So it's genetic markers and gene this and reproduce in lab that and la 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 la, and then you're instantly back to Matt Damon and looters and
right,
and the daughter and her boyfriend. And
for me, it's strange because, like, sometimes I really love just a very tight film like this or something like Dunkirk, and then I'll love a very slow moving film like, I don't know, The Revenant.
Ghost Story.
But, yeah, and that's 2 hours.
That's an hour and a half.
Yeah,
and I've never. I was.
Yeah. But like the Revenant, that's 2.5 hours. That's very slow moving, but I absolutely love every second of it. And so there's sometimes just weird middle ground films like Traffic that almost kind of have both styles to them that don't really work for me as much as something like that's just so streamlined, like Dunkirk or Contagion or Ocean's 11 or something.
See, that's the thing, is you say Dunkirk was streamlined, which the editing job and how it's put together is that's very streamlined, but there's such large pauses, there's so much space in the film, and it's not filled with dialogue, it's not filled with action, it's just I'm thinking the shots of Tom Hardy flying around, and he's flying and he's looking at the map and he's making marks on it, and it breathes.
Yeah.
It's so spacious, and that's a lot of what you get with Traffic. And that's obviously what you get with Revenant. And another one of my favorite films from the past few years, The Master.
Yeah.
Right. It's 2 hours 20 minutes, 2.5 hours. Right. The Master. and it's got all this space in between it, and I really appreciate that. And some films, if I'm going in for an action film, I don't want space. There are some action films I think that do make use of space, and I'll have to think about that actually to think of any that come to mind. But I know that there are some action films out there who do use space.
Sicario.
Sicario, yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a big one. That's a good one. Yeah. I guess you could say Wind River as well if you're thinking about Taylor Sheridan to some extent, but well, maybe I think those are more thrillers than they are necessarily action films. But the action sequences are so
good,
taut.
Yeah.
That. But this is Contagion strikes me as being, even though it's put together so well, it's so frenetic and it's so constant barrage of stuff, information, action, storyline, whatever, that it's hard to really take in and digest everything, particularly given the amount of detail that's gone into this. And whereas in The Informant, at least I can take in a lot of the information because it's just the single line of information. It's the corn stuff and Matt Damon and his lysine, and there it is.
Yeah.
Whereas Contagion, it goes from the drugs, or it goes from the disease, and then the drugs, and the testing of drugs, and then the distribution of the drugs, and then how did this disease begin? And I mean, it becomes a bit difficult to follow all this stuff, because it seems to all happen all at once.
Right. I mean, for me, it's like I really like these. I mean, this isn't based off a true story, but I really like real world scenarios, and I love characters or films that have just characters talking about things that they're passionate about or are very knowledgeable of. And so someone like Jude Law, who's, I mean, not necessarily that good of a person, but he's still so passionate about what he is doing and usually quite knowledgeable. Whenever he's talking, I'm fully in. And then someone like Marion Cotillard or anyone in the CDC, just what they're saying, even if I may not understand it all, it's still very fascinating to me.
Right.
And I still want to go learn more about it.
Right.
And same thing with like something like side effects. They're talking about all these prescriptions and side effects, and I'm very interested in it just because they feel passionate about it, and I feel like Soderbergh is aware of that, and is maybe passionate about it as well, and so he emphasizes that.
Well, that's what's so remarkable about Contagion, or I haven't seen Side Effects. I really should watch it. I've heard good things about it. But he's able to take sort of non-traditional scenarios and turn them into like looking at the outbreak of a virus, looking at a pandemic, an epidemic, and turning that into an eminently watchable, and in this case, actually very, financially lucrative, profitable film. That's something really, I think, Soderbergh and only a small handful of other directors can do.
Like David Fincher, I think.
David Fincher.
Zodiac and Jake Gyllenhaal talking about his passion and his knowledge of everything, and feels similar to this at times.
And it's interesting. Again, he's able to make an eminently watchable and interesting film from a subject that seemingly, it's a film about diseases. What? And that might be your gut reaction. Then you watch it and you go, okay, that was actually watchable. That was worth watching.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, I still did have compared to some of his other films, I did have some serious issues with Contagion. And I think a lot of that had to do with the pacing. And I'm not a big fan. I think for some reason he pulled it off with Traffic, but I've never been a big fan of the multiple. Like, I hate Crash.
Crash. Well, he didn't do Crash.
I know he didn't do Crash.
It's terrible.
That was, I think, Paul Haggis, right?
I hated it.
I hated Crash.
So it's so preachy and.
But I mean, the whole multiple overlapping.
It's all over the place, and it's
storylines thing, and he does
Crash.
that a lot. There was another film that he did a couple of years ago, Third Person, which was a horrible,
I know, I didn't see that.
Horrible piece of garbage. dumpster fire.
Yeah, dumpster fire
Dumpster
of
fire.
garbage. Yeah.
And it's all these parallel. I mean, that was only sort of, I think, 3 different parallel storylines. So I'm not a big fan of this multiple storyline thing. For some reason, and I'm still trying to figure this out. I mean, this is something I've been mulling over my head for the past few days, but for some reason, it largely works in Traffic, but in films like Crash and Contagion, it sort of puts me off to it. Crash, I know, I mean, it was just, it's so all over the place. And Contagion, at least, these storylines are contained, and even though they're hopped one from another, it's the Marion Cotillard, it's the Jude Law, it's the Matt Damon. But even so, just jumping from one to the next, and particularly with Contagion, it's the pace. And I think that's the crux of the issue there is between Contagion and Traffic. Traffic, as I said, I've got more breathing room to sort of ease into each story as it's brought up, and so I'm given the time to sort of digest and mull over, think about, and interpret, analyze what's going on, whereas Contagion, it's just a blitz. It's frenetic. It's so fast in terms of throwing all this very technical stuff at you, and really the only breathing room you get is the Matt Damon bit, because that's the only part of the whole story that's not technical. It's just looking at the human, the toll that this takes on average humanity, not the people involved with finding the disease, finding the cure, overseeing the distribution of this cure, or even the media and their representation as again demonstrated by, or displayed or whatever by the Jude Law character. But Matt Damon is the only time that a lot of jargon and technical detail isn't thrown at you, and even then it's still relatively frenetic. Just because, I mean, the looting scene, he's in the story, he's out of the story, he's running away. And then, the other stuff where he's constantly yelling and gnashing his teeth and pulling the daughter's boyfriend off of her and kicking him in the rear and telling him to piss off. And, so it's, even then where you would expect a little more breathing room, it just, boom, immediately back into the action. And those are very brief interludes. So, I mean, it's all, and it's good. It's put together in a good, I mean, the whole film technically is well done, but it's well done in a way as to it's intended to make money, which it did. Maybe Soderbergh wanted to make this film exactly this way, but I still think it feels as though there's an element to it that this is what we can do in order to make some cash off of this film.
Yeah.
And he does a good job. I mean, he knows obviously how to pull the audience in, and he does a really spectacular job of pulling the audience in with this. But
yeah,
it's
a lot.
It's a lot to take in.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's probably in my top 3, so it's a 5 for me. I loved it.
I'm gonna have to go 3 on this one.
Brutal.
Which, yeah, I know that's about the lowest I can give a Soderbergh film. But I mean, I watched this and I wanted to like it, and I thought the performances were great. I thought the direction was great, the cinematography was great, the script was great, but it was too frenetic in its pacing, and I'm not a big fan of the overlapping storylines in tandem, simply because all the jumping around. And again, in this one, whereas Traffic jumped around to give you a little time to ease into the storylines, this one it's nonstop.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that might be the biggest difference in terms of, even though it's a similar structure in terms of the storytelling, how that structure is utilized is very different. So.
Oh, and if you hear rain, we're having a huge rainstorm outside, it seems, which we had the issue with, I think, the last show. And so, sorry if you hear some rain, but...
I like it. It's a soothing sound.
Yeah.
Of course, my heart goes out to all those people in Texas, around Houston. So
I'm hoping so I have a Green Day concert later. Cannot wait to go, and I'm hoping that it's not horrendously stormy, but we'll see.
Hopefully it lets up, because the drive to Raleigh in this weather can be traumatic.
All right, well, let's move on to Magic Mike so I can go home and get ready for the event of the year. So Magic Mike was released in 2012. stars Channing Tatum, Alex Pettyfer, Matthew McConaughey, Olivia Munn, Joe Manganiello, and Matt Bomer. And the plot synopsis is: a male stripper teaches a young performer how to party, pick up women, and make easy money.
Wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
Who comes up with these synopses?
I don't know.
Somebody needs to be really just hit over the head.
Yeah, but this it was 81. It's a 81% on Rotten Tomatoes. But this is the most staggering thing. Against a $7 million budget, it made 167.
Because
it's
women.
Yeah, but it's only a $7 million budget. That's pretty low for a film like this.
Yeah,
you would think it's maybe 20, 30.
Well, I mean, if you look at it, there's no special effects. It's all sort of shot handy cam, shaky cam type stuff.
Yeah.
Which it's not super shaky. And don't get me wrong, it's not like you're going to get motion sickness watching this film.
Mm-hmm. But So I mean, I was hesitant.
Super low budget.
Yeah.
And again, most of the stars that he has, he has Channing Tatum, he has Matthew McConaughey, big name people, big hot commodities, right? But besides them,
not many.
So. Again, taking a chance. Olivia Munn.
Yeah, she's
okay.
Yeah, but I mean,
I thought she was good in this.
Yeah, she's good. Yeah.
Nobody knew who the hell she's
was. Nobody.
Right.
Yeah.
And most of the rest of the cast. Some people I think know Joe Manganiello because he was in True Blood.
Yeah, I think so.
But besides that,
yeah,
he's just
nobodies.
So I mean, the budget for the film, I'm sure it was dinky.
Yeah,
and it made huge money.
Yeah, so I mean,
I feel guilty watching this film because I know why it made money.
Yeah, and so I was really hesitant to watch this. I thought it was just a girls' night out film, strictly for a female audience. But it's really kind of the opposite. Mm-hmm. There's stripping in it. There's guys flashing, rock hard abs and all that stuff. But it's very much a character driven, and at times, dramatic story.
Yeah.
About some people that are just in a bad place, trying to make a good life for themselves and not always being able to, and having others persuade them to do otherwise or bringing them down. And the Matthew McConaughey in this is amazing.
Yeah, he's great.
I mean, Channing Tatum is great too, but McConaughey is phenomenal. He's just ridiculous.
Well, he plays up the whole persona that you first sort of catch a glimpse at in Dazed and Confused.
Yeah.
And then he just really plays it to the hilt in Magic Mike.
Like he's this veteran stripper who is the leader of all these guys, and he's just so over the top and full of himself, really.
Yeah.
And one thing I did find interesting is how it does show you the behind the scenes of how a male strip club makes its money. They're like, oh, hey, if you can get 2 girls from this club, we'll get this much money.
Yeah.
And then we'll also give you this perk if you can do that.
Yeah.
And then they, count the money at the end of the night and put it in a little Ziploc or a little zip bag, just like we do over at the coffee shop.
Right.
It's like, oh, yep, got to go to the bank.
It's,
they do the exact same thing as like a coffee shop does at the end of the night. And so it's interesting like that.
It was fascinating to watch this because, I mean, you have female strip clubs, right? Female adult entertainment, and they don't have to. I mean, they do go out and market and that kind of thing, but they don't. It doesn't seem as though they do it in the same way that I guess strip clubs for male strip clubs do.
It's much more of a self-awareness I think women have, because the shows are much more elaborate, whereas you can go to a male
men don't care what's going on as long as there's a naked lady.
You want to do your thing, go to a strip club and see people strip.
You want a beer and some naked breasts.
Yeah,
that's
a free buffet.
About, right?
Yeah,
exactly. A buffet. And $10 all-you-can-eat steak and lobster buffet.
Exactly. So
I mean, who goes to a strip club for that anyways,
I don't know. But then, so for women, at least in this, how it's presented it's much more of a show. Like here, we'll have 3 guys out on stage, and they'll be like cowboys.
Yeah.
And then he's Tarzan now, and so it's gonna there's
like whole dance routines and synchronized dance routines.
Yeah,
and the whole thing.
And it's ridiculous, but it's so funny to watch, and it's really interesting to see how the other half lives, if you will.
Yeah.
And it's very funny in that, and I think it's really meant to be comedic.
Well, that's the thing is
performances,
after a while, the stripping didn't even bother me because after a point you become inured to it, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. But what still bothered me was the dance routines and how ridiculous. I mean, Channing Tatum is an amazing dancer.
He's pretty good.
But
when he gets doing his thing, he's pretty good.
Yeah, when he was by himself, he's actually quite a good dancer. But I mean, the choreographed bits that all these other guys did together was so ridiculous.
Yeah.
I felt more uncomfortable watching the dances, not because it's like, shirtless men gyrating on stage, but because they look so stupid doing this shit. Not because, I mean, these guys are all like, I wish I looked like that. Mm-hmm. But just like, here I am in my chaps and my cowboy hat, and I got my guns, and I'm gyrating on stage, and you're just going, oh my God, you're a grown man, and you're doing that?
Yeah.
I
love it when the young main character is pushed out on stage, and they actually just show him having to literally strip all of the clothes that he's wearing. Like, he has to take off his socks and his sneakers and his zip-up hoodie and all things. Whereas, most of the strippers, they're in a costume where they can just rip it right off. But he has to literally, in front of, like, a huge group of, 20-something-year-old women, just take off, dirty socks and all these things, and then go dance up on someone for the first time that he's, and it's so entertaining, and I hope more people who may be hesitant to watch it go see it, because it's a really fun movie.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just it's one of those things where you have to, particularly if you're a guy, you have to sort of grapple with your masculinity and get it under control and say, okay, I'm confident enough in my manhood and who I am as a person that I can go watch this.
Yeah.
So if you can do that, I mean, it's actually a very compelling story. Mm-hmm. And Channing Tatum, God damn him.
Yeah. He's good.
He's such an amazing actor. He's such an amazing dancer. He's a good-looking guy, and he's so freaking charismatic. You want to hate him because he's got everything going for him, but you can't.
Yeah.
Because he's such a nice guy. He's he's a sincere person. Yeah. And that's in terms of both him as a person, how he portrays his characters. And that's the thing in this is Channing Tatum in real life is, he's Mr. Wonderful and all that. But in this film, he's so down on his luck.
Yeah. Like he's a carpenter during the day. So carpenter by day, stripper by night. Yeah. And so it's very interesting to see him do these very exotic dances and then go get cargo shorts and boots and go build a roof.
Right.
And so it's cool to see how it looks glamorous from when he's on stage, but his actual life may not be that amazing.
Well, that's the thing, is you feel sorry for him because he has a dream. He wants to design furniture, and he actually knows something about it. Mm. He's not just like, I want to make chairs.
Yeah.
He actually is able to recognize different styles of furniture and name them. I mean, he knows his stuff, and he obviously would be good at doing this, and he would put the effort. He could make money if he ran a business doing this, and so he's been stripping because it's easy money, which he can then put towards a business. But he goes into the bank, and again, this is where you see that a lot of these people in Soderbergh films here, it's strippers, male strippers in particular, but I think strippers in general, which is another interesting thing is that this comes up a bit in The Big Short, which remind me to revisit that a bit. But how these people on the fringe can't seem to, he wants to get into sort of normal, quote unquote, life. He wants to open a custom furniture business, but he can't get the business loan for it because his credit is just. And
also sometimes he's almost working against himself, like he's having to deal with or train this kid who's kind of the new young starlet, and then but his lifestyle is still very crazy, like he's having threesomes with Olivia Munn, and all these things, and so he's at times his own worst enemy, but also at other times he's not. He's really trying to create a better life for himself. Yeah. He just doesn't always follow through, which is understandable.
that's the thing, is I never quite understood the dynamic between Channing Tatum's character and, I guess, who was it, Matt Pettifer, the kid?
I think Alex
Pettifer, okay. You think when you first see them, oh, Channing Tatum's going to corrupt this kid and bring him into this lifestyle and turn him into... And the kid does eventually fall to corruption. I mean, drugs, and runs afoul of drug dealers and the whole thing. But, I mean, to what extent is this Channing Tatum's fault? Because Channing Tatum himself, his character, Magic Mike, doesn't ever seem as though that's his lifestyle. You don't see him, I mean, he does drink and he sleeps around and stuff, but he's never really, like, heavy duty into drugs. He doesn't... It seems as though, even in the fringe lifestyle, he's sort of on the fringe. This isn't something that he wants to do for his whole life. This is not he's not.
It's a means to an end to get his real goal.
Yeah, so. And so he does lapse into some of that lifestyle, but that doesn't seem as though that's him. And that's the interesting thing is this sort of inner turmoil, and I think that's the whole point to the film, is it's not even necessarily his relationship to his sort of protege. It's the struggle that he has. It's this inner turmoil. It's the struggle that he has with himself between staying with the easy money, staying with this sort of fun, fast-paced lifestyle, or wanting to leave that all behind so that he can actually do something to move towards his more, I guess you could say, laudable, although that's a loaded sort of word, again, because you can't... How do you judge these guys? If this is the lifestyle they want to leave, then that's to them. But, you know, in terms of Mike, this more, I guess, maybe not laudable, but lofty or genuine goal of designing custom furniture. The sort of artistic expression outlet, which he does actually have in stripping, because, again, he's one of the few strippers who actually puts effort into his routines and that kind of thing.
Which again is very refreshing and surprising about a film like this.
Yeah,
you wouldn't think, oh, this is also going to be about a guy trying to fulfill his dream of designing furniture. He's a stripper, but also he has this, dream, and so it's interesting like that. But in terms of comedy, I love some of the scenes like where Alex Pettifer's in the early stages of dancing, and they're at the gym, and Matthew McConaughey gets right behind him, and they do this like grind against the mirror, like, oh yeah, you got it. It's all you. You're the guy. You're the man.
He's like, strip, and the guy, Alex Pettifer's just like takes off his shirt, and takes off his pants. Matthew McConaughey's, what are you doing?
Yeah, and
what are you, 12 years old? The locker room?
Yeah, exactly. And then when the sister of Alex Pettifer sees all of these thongs and stuff that he's bought from Channing Tatum, he's shaving his legs in the bathroom. Right. And she's like, I need to talk to you about this box that I see outside. And he's just like, fuck me. Because he just has a huge thing of colorful thongs in a box. Yeah. She's like, I'm not going to judge you.
It's your lifestyle. I don't care how you live your life.
And it's like a commentary. It's like, that's ridiculous to have stuff like that. Yeah. No matter who you are. So.
Yeah.
But it's...
Well, I mean, the back and forth, I don't know the actress who played Brooke. Again, Soderbergh working with lesser-known people who he gets these remarkable performances out of them. But the back and forth between her and Channing Tatum is awesome, particularly when the first time that they meet. Yeah. The kid, Alex Pettifer's character goes home. Channing Tatum's there. Channing Tatum says, your brother mentioned something about breakfast. And she's like, what the hell are you talking about? I'm not making you breakfast. What the hell? I'm not doing it. He's like, whoa, I just wanted to... He said you like breakfast. I thought we could go get some breakfast. Yeah. And, so it's funny because she's very standoffish and judgmental. And then, again, Channing Tatum, because he's so damn charismatic, ends up winning her over. But the back and forth between the two of them.
Oh, it's good, yeah.
It's awesome. So, again, I don't know how Soderbergh is able to set up all these characters. I mean, you see it in Out of Sight. You see it again in George Clooney and Julia Roberts in Ocean's 11. And you see it in Magic Mike. But he's able to set up these leads with female leads, and then just the chemistry between them. and it does. You know, a lot of films, I think the chemistry between the male and female leads, when there's some sort of romantic element to it, falls flat. But for some reason, in the Soderbergh films, it always works. When there's a very obvious, immediate chemistry between the two, or spark between the people, such as George Clooney and Jennifer Lopez in Out of Sight, or when it's a more contentious, standoffish relationship like you see in Magic Mike. Either way, the relationship, the chemistry, Soderbergh is able to set it up and direct it in such a way that it's awesome. It's just watching these two people play off one another. It's always so good.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you're one of those people that are, like I had said before, if you're hesitant, you're not sure if you would like it, give it a chance, and I think you'll thank us later. Right into the film buds, and you'll thank us later.
Yeah, I was hesitant to watch this. I mean, I'd heard a lot of good stuff about it. You know, a lot of friends had recommended it and said, yes, it's definitely worth a watch. You should go see this. I mean, it is, first of all, a Soderbergh film, but even so, if you can move past the subject matter, watch the film unravel. It's really a good story, and I mean, it is. You know, as it goes on, it becomes more and more compelling, and okay, the stripping routines are always there, but they sort of fall into the background after a while. And they're not the focus of the film, but almost like comic relief.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's I guess that's about all I got. What are you gonna give it out of 5?
I gotta give Magic Mike a 4.
I'll go 4.5. It's one of my favorites. Maybe not top 3, but definitely up there for me. But all right, well, I guess that's all 5 of the Soderbergh films. There's plenty more that we could have talked about, but maybe do that for another time. But we hope you enjoyed it, and thank you again so much for downloading. But if you want to reach us, the filmbuds.podcast at gmail.com. Feel free to send us comments, questions about this or the regular weekly show that we have on iTunes. And you can also reach us on Twitter and Facebook. And Braden, thank you so much, man.
Sure.
Really appreciate it.
Always happy to come in.
And so make sure to tune in next week for the regular show. We should have some special guests on. And so that'll be fun. But hopefully you enjoyed this a lot. And until next time, we'll see you later.